A drone burst into a million fiery pieces, raining bits of plastic and scorched wire onto my tomato plants. One of my eagles, Talon, screeched victoriously as it circled overhead. Down the street, Clarissa Green, HOA president and self-proclaimed surveillance expert, screamed something about airspace laws and federal interference. I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, watching smoke curl into the sky. "That's drone number 4 this week," I muttered. It all started with a letter. Not a knock or a civil conversation, just one of those obnoxiously neon HOA violation notices taped to my gate like a ransom note. Unauthorized structure in rear yard. Potential hazard to community aesthetics, it read. Attached was a blurry photo of what they were calling a structure, a simple perch pole I'd built for Talon years ago. It wasn't even visible unless you were in a tree or, as it turned out, flying a drone. And Clarissa had started doing exactly that. First, I laughed. Surely they weren't serious about sighting a bird perch on a 2-acre lot that had been exempt from HOA rules when I purchased it. But they were deadly serious. A second notice arrived 3 days later. Then a third. Wildlife attractant activity. Avian installation violations. Breach of architectural integrity. One even accused me of encouraging dangerous nesting behavior. That referred to Ember, one of my younger raptors, laying 2 perfect eggs in a cedar platform I'd built in the treeline. This wasn't about rules. It was targeted harassment. I'd lived on the edge of Juniper Hollow for 12 years. My property backed into federally protected land and was designated under a conservation easement that superseded local ordinances. I rehabilitated eagles, hawks, owls. I had federal permits, USFWS licenses, and enough paperwork to fill a file cabinet. But Clarissa didn't care. She was recently elected HOA president after organizing a beautification campaign and maneuvering her way into power with charm and marketing lingo. I didn't decorate for holidays, attend meetings, or gossip at dog parks. I wasn't her kind of neighbor. Things came to a head when her first drone buzzed 20 feet above my paddock while I was feeding Haven, my blind golden eagle. It hovered obnoxiously, lens blinking red as it zoomed in on Ember's nesting perch. I threw a pine cone at it out of reflex and it zipped back toward Clarissa's chimney perch. Minutes later, an email arrived, evidence of hostility toward HOA monitoring efforts. I mailed back a certified letter citing the 1974 Wildlife Rehabilitation Act and conservation codes. Clarissa didn't back off. 2 days later, I saw her on her porch roof clutching a remote control like a kid with a new RC car. A newer, more advanced drone buzzed across the sky. Talon was watching. When it crossed the perimeter, he launched. A flash of wings, a single strike, and the drone exploded midair. Talon circled once overhead and landed beside the wreckage, puffing his feathers like he'd just taken out a spy plane. Clarissa panicked. That evening, I received another violation notice, wildlife hazard. Aggressive animal behavior. The irony? Her drone had been the aggressor. I attached wildlife cam footage clearly showing the drone encroaching the nest and mailed it to the HOA, Clarissa, and the city wildlife department. Clarissa responded with another violation, non-compliant aerial defense structures. She upped her game. A sleeker, faster drone appeared. It zipped through trees like a robotic mosquito. Ember watched from the trees. When the drone dipped below 30 feet, she struck, catching it in one smooth motion and dropping it by the pond like a trophy. I left it on Clarissa's walkway the next morning with a note. "You're being watched too." She didn't slow down. Accusations flew. Excessive bird activity. Unauthorized wildlife sanctuary. It was absurd. But it wasn't funny anymore. I installed 6 trail cams, 2 GoPros mounted to lightweight harnesses on Talon and Ember. The footage was shocking. Clarissa's new drone swept over other homes, hovered outside windows, even zoomed near a teenage girl's bedroom. I printed a screenshot and mailed it to every neighbor. Within days, neighbors called. 2 were angry. 2 asked for privacy fences. 1, retired Navy analyst Mrs. Halverson, showed up with a binder labeled Juniper Hollow Surveillance Log. Clarissa wasn't deterred. She purchased a black Autel EVO 2 drone with thermal imaging and 8K video. It hovered above nesting zones for 38 minutes. I stood on the porch, popcorn in hand, watching it violate every rule in the conservation code. Clarissa wanted control. I kept building a case. GPS logs, video files, Easement maps. I filed a FOIA request with the county. No flight exceptions had been granted. Clarissa was violating federal airspace rules. I called my lawyer, Nate Clemens, a quiet, sharp former prosecutor. I handed him the rehab licenses, conservation easement, and bird sanctuary documentation. He reviewed the evidence. "We're going to roast her," he said. Clarissa issued a newsletter titled Soaring Threats When Wildlife Becomes Weaponized, accusing me of training eagles to attack drones. It featured Talon mid-flight, captioned Known Aggressor. She'd used HOA funds to buy drones through her Amazon account, listed them under Community Patrol, and reimbursed herself. I brought receipts to Mr. Donovan, the anxious HOA treasurer. "I thought we were buying radios," he muttered. "Someone slipped an anonymous note into my mailbox. She's hiding drone logs." Check Jorbian HOA basement. I found 37 drone flight records, target lists, including one listing my home with notes. "Encourages birds. Possible aggression." Then came the crash. Drone number 6 clipped Talon's nesting box and fell into protected territory. It had a microphone and memory card audio of Clarissa saying, "I don't care if it's illegal. I want to know what he's hiding." I called my wildlife attorney, Nia Trevorrow. She filed complaints with the Department of the Interior and the State Wildlife Commission. The next morning, a DOI agent arrived. We reviewed all footage. He nodded grimly. "This is gold." They confirmed Clarissa had used HOA funds to finance drones over restricted wildlife zones. Fines and investigations followed. The HOA budget was frozen. Special receivers were appointed. Clarissa tried to host a board meeting only to find state agents waiting. The board resigned. Clarissa posted a long screed about deep state environmentalists. We framed it. Then we sued. Langley v. Juniper Hollow HOA was filed with stacked evidence. We sought civil damages, airspace violations, and wildlife harassment penalties. The courtroom packed out. Nain presented every drone video, every forged receipt, and Margaret's whistleblower testimony. Clarissa had lied about board votes. She'd authorized surveillance and forged reimbursement entries. The judge ruled decisively. The HOA was dissolved. Clarissa was fined by the FAA and cited for violations of the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act. Her husband moved out. The house was listed for sale. Peace returned. Ember's chicks hatched. Talon stood sentinel on the weather vane. And I used the settlement to build a rehabilitation center. The Green Raptor Sanctuary. Carved mahogany sign. Bronze letters. Below it, a sanctuary for raptors. Free from harassment. Clarissa never showed up. Her house sat empty. A retired park ranger bought it months later and offered to volunteer. Justice, it turns out, sometimes wears feathers. I framed the final violation, aggressive bird activity. And beside it, the DOI's thank you letter for conservation work. Let Clarissa fly drones again. But next time, she'll think twice about trespassing into the skies that belong to Talon and Ember Guardians of Juniper Hollow, and the law's sharpest eyes in the sky.